Your life is waiting for a breakthrough, and right now, this moment is your opportunity. Everything you've ever wanted, success, freedom, recognition, fulfillment, is on the other side of action. You may have dreamed about it, planned for it, or even wished for it. But dreams alone don't create results. The world doesn't reward intention. It rewards action, focus, and relentless effort. Every person who has achieved greatness started with a single step, a decision that they would no longer settle for less than they were capable of. The truth is, nothing in life comes easy. Opportunities don't fall into your lap. Success doesn't knock on your door. But what does exist is the power within you to create the life you've always imagined. That power is fueled by clarity, discipline, and courage. It's in the choices you make every day, in the small steps you take when no one is watching, and in the commitment to move forward even when the path is uncertain. Every giant achievement in history was built on these principles: vision paired with action, courage paired with consistency, and persistence paired with patience. Right now, you stand at a crossroads. You can continue doing what you've always done and stay where you are. Or you can take deliberate steps that will change everything. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is simple: the willingness to act, the willingness to push past fear, the willingness to focus on what you can control and use it to create momentum. Every step, no matter how small, compounds into a life beyond what you thought was possible. By the time this video ends, you will see that your dreams are not distant. Your goals are not unreachable, and your potential is far greater than you realize. You will understand how to turn ambition into action, how to take small steps that lead to massive results, and how to create the life you've always imagined. This is your moment. This is your time. What you do next determines everything. Part 1, the power of a big dream. Why having a clear vision changes everything. When you sit down and start to think about the life you want, the first thing that should rise inside you is the picture of a big dream. That picture is not just an idea floating in your mind. It is the spark that pulls you out of bed in the dark morning and keeps you awake at night when others are sleeping. A dream sets the direction of your life. Without it, you may keep moving, but you won't know where you are going. People who carry a clear dream walk with a different kind of energy, because they are not just passing time, they are building something with meaning. A dream is more than money, more than fame, more than recognition. It is the vision of what you want your life to stand for, what you want to accomplish, and the kind of difference you want to leave behind. When you carry a big dream inside of you, you no longer look at today the same way. The small hours of the day begin to matter. How you use your time, who you spend it with, and the choices you make begin to change, because you know you are either getting closer to your vision or further away from it. That's why having a dream is so powerful. It gives you a reason to endure the hard days and keep moving through the obstacles that others give up on. People who lack a dream often look for shortcuts or distractions. But people with a dream stay steady because they know every step is part of the bigger picture they are chasing. Think about how life feels when you don't have something to aim for. Days start blending together. Weeks pass without any real progress. It feels like you're just existing. But the moment you define a dream that is larger than your current reality, something inside of you changes. You begin to rise above the feeling of routine. Even when you are tired, you find strength. Even when you are broke, you find resourcefulness. Even when you are doubted, you find courage. That's the magic of a big dream. It transforms how you see yourself and how you handle life. But a dream cannot just stay in your mind. It has to live in your actions. Too many people keep their dream like a decoration, stored away for when they feel like talking about it. But a dream is not meant to be hidden. It is meant to be worked on. Every great success story began with someone who decided that their dream deserved their energy and their discipline. The truth is, when you carry a dream, you also carry responsibility. Responsibility to give it shape, to give it effort, to give it life. A clear dream changes the way you measure success. Without a dream, success is usually measured by what others have or what society tells you to chase. But with a dream, success becomes personal. It's not about competing with others. It's about becoming the person you need to be to reach the vision you set for yourself. This is why people with strong dreams are rarely jealous. They don't waste time comparing because they are too busy focusing on their own path. Their energy is not spent on gossip or distractions. It is invested into the future they are building. There will always be voices that tell you your dream is too big. Sometimes those voices are people around you, and sometimes those voices are your own doubts. The dreamer who wins is not the one with the loudest cheerleaders, but the one who decides that no amount of doubt will silence the vision inside. If you allow fear to run your decisions, your dream will shrink until it disappears. But if you keep your dream alive, even when no one else sees it, eventually the world will notice the results of your persistence. What makes a dream powerful is not only its size, but also its clarity. A dream that is vague will not move you. Saying you want to be successful is not a dream. It is just a wish. A real dream has details. It has shape. It answers questions like what kind of life you want to live, what kind of impact you want to make, what kind of person you want to become. When you get clear about those details, your mind begins to align your thoughts, your habits, and your choices with that picture. The clearer the dream, the stronger the pull. You don't need the approval of the world to chase your dream. You only need your own conviction. Approval is nice, but it won't carry you through the struggles. Conviction will. Conviction is what keeps you going when results are slow. Conviction is what allows you to sacrifice comfort for progress. Conviction is what makes you refuse to settle when life offers you something smaller than what you've envisioned. That's why it's important to protect your dream. Don't share it with everyone, because not everyone can see what you see. Some people will laugh, some will discourage, and some will project their own limitations onto you. But none of that matters if you hold on to your conviction. Having a dream does not mean life will suddenly become easy. It means you now have a reason to endure what others cannot. The truth is, struggle without purpose feels like suffering, but struggle with a dream feels like growth. Every challenge becomes part of your training. Every setback becomes part of your story. Every failure becomes a stepping stone toward the dream you are reaching for. That's why those who carry a dream live with more energy and more fire than those who do not. They have decided that the journey is worth it, no matter how long it takes. A dream pulls you into the future, but it also changes how you live today. It makes you realize that every hour counts, every effort matters, every decision adds up. Even the smallest progress takes on meaning when it is connected to a larger vision. That's the real power of a dream. It turns ordinary days into meaningful steps. Without it, days pass by unnoticed. With it, every day feels like a chance to move closer to something greater. So the first step to building a life of significance is not money, not opportunity, not luck. It is the courage to dream. And not just to dream vaguely, but to dream big, clear, and bold enough that it makes you stretch. When you choose that kind of dream, you set a standard for yourself. You decide that your life will not be wasted on small living or empty distractions. You decide that your energy will be invested in something that outlasts you. And once you make that decision, everything about how you live, work, and grow begins to change. That's why a big dream is not just an idea. It is the foundation of everything meaningful you will ever achieve. When you understand the force of a big dream, you begin to see how it reshapes every part of your life. It shifts the way you look at opportunities. Instead of asking if something is easy, you start asking if it aligns with the dream. Instead of taking the comfortable route, you start choosing the meaningful one. That single change is what separates those who live by chance from those who live by choice. A person without a dream can be swayed in every direction. A person with a dream has a compass that always points them back to where they need to go. The impact of a dream is not only in the future, but also in the present. It changes how you carry yourself today. When you walk with purpose, you stand taller, you speak with more confidence, and you develop resilience. Life may still throw storms at you, but with a dream, you don't crumble the same way others do. Instead, you anchor yourself in the picture of where you are going, and that picture keeps you steady. You begin to realize that temporary pain does not define you, because what defines you is the commitment to your vision. Dreams also change the way you respond to people. When your dream is clear, you no longer need everyone's approval, and that frees you. You stop chasing validation because you already know where you're going. People may laugh, criticize, or doubt, but none of it has the power to break you because your dream is louder inside than their voices are outside. This is a powerful shift because once you are no longer controlled by people's opinions, you are finally free to build the life you want. Think about how many people never move forward because they are waiting for the right time. They wait for perfect circumstances, for guarantees, for signs that everything will work out. But life doesn't hand you perfect conditions. Life hands you a vision, and it's your job to move toward it. The truth is, waiting for the right time is often an excuse for fear. If you wait until you feel fully ready, you will never begin. But when the dream is strong enough, you stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating progress with what you already have. That decision alone changes the course of your future. A dream has the ability to make ordinary people do extraordinary things. It doesn't matter where you start, what resources you have, or what setbacks you've faced. What matters is whether the dream inside of you is strong enough to carry you through. History is filled with people who started with very little but held onto a vision that was bigger than their reality. They worked, they sacrificed, and they stayed consistent, and in time the dream became real. That same potential exists for anyone who refuses to let go of their vision. Carrying a dream also means embracing growth. You cannot reach a big vision with the same habits, mindset, and skills you have today. The dream forces you to grow into a stronger version of yourself. It demands discipline where there was once laziness. It demands focus where there was once distraction. It demands courage where there was once hesitation. Each time you stretch, you come closer to becoming the kind of person who can handle the weight of your dream. That is one of the most valuable gifts of having a vision. It makes you grow into someone greater than you were before. A dream also gives meaning to sacrifice. Without a vision, sacrifice feels like loss. With a vision, sacrifice feels like investment. Waking up early, staying late, studying when others relax, saving when others spend, training when others sleep. All of these only feel heavy if there's no dream tied to them. But when you connect them to your vision, they stop feeling like burdens and start feeling like stepping stones. Every sacrifice becomes a down payment on the life you are building. That shift in perspective is what keeps your energy alive even when progress seems slow. People often underestimate how much a dream can carry them through challenges. There will be seasons where nothing seems to be working. When people misunderstand you, when results don't come as fast as you hoped. Without a vision, those seasons break people. But with a dream, those seasons train you. You endure them because you know they are part of the process. The storm doesn't feel permanent when you can see the clear picture of your future beyond it. That picture keeps you moving forward when giving up would be easier. The true strength of a dream is that it connects you to your higher potential. It reminds you that life is not just about existing, but about creating. It pushes you beyond average, beyond routine, beyond comfort. It forces you to use the gifts you've been given and not waste them. It gives you something to live for, something to work for, and something to leave behind. Without it, life feels shallow. With it, life feels rich with meaning. This is why the first step in building a great life is daring to dream bigger than your current circumstances. Do not shrink your dream to fit your fears. Do not shrink it to match your resources. Expand your courage to match the dream. Expand your work ethic to match the dream. Expand your persistence to match the dream. When you do this, the dream no longer feels impossible. It feels inevitable. Not because it will happen overnight, but because you are committed to building it piece by piece until it becomes real. A dream is the seed of every achievement. It is the vision that gives birth to progress. It is the spark that ignites your willpower. Once you define it clearly and commit to it fully, your life will never be the same. From that moment, you no longer live by chance. You live by purpose. And a life lived with purpose is the most powerful life you can live. Part 2. Starting small builds momentum. How tiny actions lead to big results. Starting with a big dream is powerful, but it will remain only a picture in your mind if you don't begin with small, steady steps. Many people get excited by the vision, but quickly feel overwhelmed when they think about how far away the dream seems. They look at the mountain instead of the first step. That is why so many never move beyond imagining. They spend years thinking, planning, and talking, but very little doing. The truth is, progress does not come from massive leaps. It comes from the small, simple actions that build momentum. Think about how progress really works. The person who wants to write a book doesn't write it in one sitting. They sit down each day and write a page, sometimes even a paragraph. The athlete who wants to compete at the highest level doesn't transform in a week. They train each day, pushing a little harder, improving their form, strengthening their discipline. The entrepreneur who wants to build a company doesn't do it in a single launch. They begin with one product, one customer, one sale. Each of these examples shows the same principle. Greatness comes from the accumulation of small, consistent actions. The reason starting small is so effective is that it eliminates the excuses. You may not be able to change your entire life overnight, but you can do one thing today that moves you closer. You can read for 30 minutes. You can make one phone call. You can save a small amount. You can exercise for 15 minutes. These steps may feel small at first, but they are powerful because they create movement. And once you are moving, momentum begins to build. Momentum is what transforms a single step into a steady walk, then into a run. Starting small also helps. The gap between where you are and where you want to be can feel intimidating. But each small action gives you proof that you are capable of progress. Every time you follow through on a small step, you strengthen your belief in yourself. That belief becomes fuel for the next action. It is far better to begin with something manageable and build consistency than to set a goal so large that you quit after a few days because it feels impossible. Why? Small steps also teach you patience. The modern world conditions people to expect instant results. When they don't see big changes immediately, they lose motivation. But life doesn't reward impatience. The most valuable rewards are given to those who are willing to persist. To those who can stay disciplined through the small beginnings, until they reach the bigger milestones. When you commit to small steps, you are training your mind to value progress over perfection. You are learning to appreciate the journey instead of rushing the destination. Another hidden benefit of starting small is that it builds habits. Success is not just about motivation. It is about routines that carry you when motivation fades. A small daily action repeated over time becomes a habit. Once it becomes a habit, it requires less effort to maintain. This is where real power lies, because habits compound. A small saving habit compounds into wealth. A small reading habit compounds into wisdom. A small discipline in health compounds into strength. Over time, those small steps turn into a foundation that supports much bigger achievements. It is also important to understand that small steps create room for learning and adjustment. If you try to take on too much too soon, mistakes can feel crushing. But when you start small, you can make mistakes without being destroyed by them. You can learn, adjust, and improve as you go. This makes the process less risky and more sustainable. Every step you take gives you feedback. That feedback is valuable because it helps you grow smarter, stronger, and more capable as you move forward. People often dismiss small steps because they don't feel dramatic. They don't look impressive on the surface. But the truth is, most people fail not because they aim too low, but because they refused to start small. They want the big leap, the overnight success, the dramatic transformation. But life rarely works that way. It is the small, almost invisible actions repeated daily that create the kind of results that others later call success. When you focus on small steps, you also learn the value of consistency over time. You realize that success is less about intensity and more about showing up every day. Anyone can work hard for a day, but it takes discipline to work steadily for years. And the person who can remain consistent, even with small actions, will always surpass the one who tries to do everything at once and then burns out. Starting small is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of wisdom. It is the recognition that growth takes time, that mastery takes repetition, and that big dreams are achieved one small action at a time. The person who dares to take that first step, no matter how small, is already ahead of the person still waiting for the perfect moment. Every great achievement you admire began with a single action. Every building began with one brick. Every journey began with one step. Every dream began with one decision to begin. Do not underestimate the power of starting small. The small step you take today is the foundation for the life you will live tomorrow. Part 3, consistency beats intensity. Daily effort compounds faster than occasional bursts. Consistency is the difference between people who dream and people who achieve. Most people are capable of giving a burst of energy for a short period of time. They get excited, they work hard for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, and then the energy fades. Now, they stop showing up, they lose focus, and their progress disappears. The truth is, intensity may look impressive in the moment, but it rarely builds anything lasting. What creates lasting change and long-term success is the steady rhythm of consistent effort, even when it doesn't look glamorous or exciting. Think about how daily life works. If you eat healthy meals for 1 week and then go back to poor habits, your health won't improve. But if you eat balanced meals consistently, even if they're simple, your body transforms over time. If you read 10 books in 1 month, but then stop reading for a year, your mind won't grow much. But if you read for just 20 minutes every day, you will gain knowledge and perspective that compound year after year. The same applies to money, to fitness, to relationships, and to personal growth. Consistency builds a foundation that intensity alone cannot match. The challenge for many people is that consistency feels ordinary. It doesn't give the same rush as working all night or making a big dramatic push. It feels quiet, routine, sometimes even boring, but that's the point. Success is built on what you repeat, not on what you do occasionally. Consistency doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to keep showing up. Even on days when you feel tired, even when you're not in the mood, even when progress feels slow. Those are the days that separate people who achieve their dreams from those who quit halfway. Consistency also builds discipline. Every time you stick to your daily actions, you strengthen the habit of following through. Discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you build by keeping promises to yourself. And when you develop this discipline, you begin to trust yourself. You no longer rely only on bursts of motivation, because you have trained yourself to act regardless of how you feel. That is when progress becomes The truth is, big breakthroughs often come after long periods of steady effort. You may feel like nothing is changing for weeks or months, but underneath the surface, growth is happening. Skills are being sharpened, knowledge is being absorbed, habits are being formed. Then one day, what looked like small, ordinary efforts suddenly add up to something extraordinary. People will call it luck, but you'll know it was the result of consistent, daily action. Intensity can drain you, but consistency builds you. Insanity burns energy quickly, but consistency teaches you how to manage your energy and pace yourself for the long run. Think about athletes. The ones who last in their careers are not the ones who push recklessly every single day until they're injured. They are the ones who train smart, pace themselves, and build steady progress over years. Life works the same way. Your dream is not a sprint. It's a long journey. Consistency is what makes the journey possible. Consistency also builds momentum. Once you get into the rhythm of daily effort, the work becomes easier. You don't have to fight yourself every time to begin. It becomes a part of who you are. At first, the steps feel heavy, but with time, they become lighter, almost automatic. That's the power of momentum. It turns effort into flow, and momentum doesn't come from one intense burst of energy. It comes from showing up every day, regardless of how you feel. There is another hidden benefit to consistency. It creates trust in the eyes of others. People value reliability. If they know you show up every day, if they know you keep your word, they will trust you. And trust opens doors. Trust creates opportunities. Trust is built not by one big promise, but by a series of small actions repeated over time. Consistency doesn't just shape your habits, it shapes your reputation. Many people underestimate what they can achieve in a year of consistent effort. They expect too much in a week and too little in a year. But if you dedicate yourself to consistent actions, even small ones, the results after 12 months will surprise you. 1 year of steady growth can completely change your health, your wealth, your knowledge, and your relationships. The key is to stop thinking about quick wins and start committing to steady habits. Intensity is about doing something once with a lot of energy. Consistency is about doing something every day with discipline. If you want lasting change, choose consistency. If you want to reach your dream, commit to daily action. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to impress anyone. What matters is that you keep moving forward, one step at a time, day after day. When you combine the power of small steps with the discipline of consistency, your progress becomes inevitable. Your dream may take time, but time is not your enemy. Time is your ally when you use it with consistency. Each day is a chance to build. Each day is a chance to grow. Each day is a step closer to the future you want. Part 4, focus on what you can control. Small steps you can take today. One of the biggest mistakes people make in life is spending all their energy worrying about things that are outside their control. They complain about the economy. They blame the government. They point point fingers at their parents, their boss, their neighbor, their circumstances. And here's the truth, none of that complaining changes anything. The economy will still rise and fall. Governments will still make decisions. Circumstances will still shift. If you wait for the world to change before you take action, you'll be waiting forever. What really changes your life is not the things you can't control, but the things you can. That's where your power is. That's where progress begins. And if you want to succeed, you must learn to focus on what's in your hands today. Think about this. Can you control whether the weather is sunny or stormy? No. But you can control whether you bring an umbrella. Can you control whether the job market is tight? Not entirely. But you can control whether you sharpen your skills, whether you build your network, whether you wake up early and put in the effort to stand out. Can you control how other people treat you? Not always, but you can control how you respond. And sometimes your response is the difference between being defeated by life and being strengthened by it. This is where small steps come in. You see, success isn't built in a day, it's built daily. Small, consistent steps may not look impressive in the moment, but over time, they change everything. If today you choose to read 10 pages of a good book instead of wasting an hour scrolling through distractions, that's a step forward. If today you choose to put a little money aside instead of spending it all, that's a step forward. If today you choose to exercise for 20 minutes instead of making another excuse, that's a step forward. These small decisions compound, and before you know it, they shape the life you've been dreaming of. Here's something to remember. When you focus only on the big picture, it can feel overwhelming. You look at the mountain of goals ahead of you and think, I can't climb this. But when you break it down into daily steps, it suddenly becomes possible. Nobody climbs a mountain in one leap. You climb it step by step, one foot after the other, one day after the other. That's how progress is made. And let's talk about the psychology of control. When you keep your focus on what you can do, you build confidence. You stop feeling like a victim of life and start feeling like the driver of your own future. That sense of ownership gives you energy. It makes you stronger. But when you waste your energy on what you can't control, you drain yourself. You start feeling powerless, helpless, stuck, and nothing kills ambition faster than the feeling that nothing you do matters. But everything you do matters when you focus it in the right place. The truth is, the gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't crossed in one dramatic move. It's crossed in 1,000 small, intentional steps. Every decision you make today is either moving you closer to your goal or farther away from it. That's why you must choose carefully. So ask yourself, what can you do today? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Can you take Senster's minutes to exercise? Can you spend 1 hour learning a new skill? Can you save $dollars instead of spending it? Can you make one important phone call, write one page of your book, practice one presentation, or have one meaningful conversation? These small actions may not feel life-changing in the moment, but stacked together, they will transform everything. I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to get in shape. You can't change your genetics. You can't change your age, but what can you control? You can control what you eat today. You can control whether you move your body today. You can control how much water you drink. You can control whether you stay up too late or go to bed on time. And if you repeat these small decisions day after day, the results will follow. Or let's take finances. You may not be able to control inflation. You may not be able to control what the government does with taxes. But you can control whether you budget your money. You can control whether you buy that extra pair of shoes. You don't need or invest that money into something that grows. You can control whether you waste hours complaining or spend hours learning about money. Those small steps add up. The same goes for relationships. You can't control if someone else is moody, rude, or distant, but you can control whether you show patience. You can control whether you communicate clearly. You can control whether you invest in the relationship or walk away from something toxic. That's your power. And here's the beautiful thing. Once you start focusing on the things you can control, life begins to feel lighter. You stop carrying the weight of things you were never meant to carry. You stop stressing over things you can't change. Instead, you start stacking victories, small daily wins that build momentum. And that momentum creates hope, and hope is what keeps you going when things get tough. So if you feel stuck right now, don't look at the whole staircase. Just take the next step. Don't worry about whether life is fair. That's not in your control. Worry about whether you're giving your best effort today. That is in your control. Don't waste your days trying to control the uncontrollable. Take your energy back. Put it into the small things you can do today. Because here's the truth. If you do the small things consistently, they eventually become the big things. They build habits. Habits shape your character, and character shapes your destiny. It all starts with the small steps you decide to take today. So the question is, what will you do with today? Part 5, learning as you go, turning mistakes into lessons on your journey. One of the greatest secrets to success is realizing that mistakes are not the enemy. Failure is not the end of the story. It's part of the process. Everyone who has ever achieved something worthwhile has stumbled, made wrong decisions, lost opportunities, and faced setbacks. What separates those who rise from those who stay stuck is not whether they fail, but whether they learn from it. The truth is, no one starts with all the answers. Nobody begins a journey perfectly equipped. If you wait until you know everything before you start, you'll never move. Progress doesn't happen that way. Progress happens when you take action, face the challenges that come with it, make mistakes, and then improve because of what you've learned. That's how growth works. Think about your own life. Every mistake you've made has taught you something. If you were willing to pay attention, maybe you trusted the wrong person and it taught you to be more careful with who you allow into your inner circle. Maybe you wasted money and it taught you the importance of budgeting. Maybe you quit too soon and it taught you the value of persistence. Mistakes are like teachers. The only difference is that the lessons they give are often tough, and the price you pay for them is real. But those lessons are often the ones that stick with you the longest. Too many people are afraid of failing, so they never try. They don't take the chance. They don't speak up. They don't start the project. They don't take the risk. And because they avoid failure, they also avoid growth. They stay in the same place year after year, watching life pass them by. That fear of making mistakes keeps them trapped. But those who dare to move, those who dare to start, even if they stumble along the way, eventually find themselves ahead of everyone who stood still. There's something powerful about the mindset shift that happens when you see mistakes differently. When you stop asking, why did this happen to me, and start asking, what can I learn from this? Everything changes. You stop feeling like life is unfair and you start feeling like life is teaching you something valuable. You stop seeing mistakes as proof that you're not good enough, and you start seeing them as evidence that you're on the path, that you're trying, that you're growing. Think about children learning how to walk. They fall down countless times. They stumble, they trip, they lose balance. But they don't quit. They don't think walking isn't for me. They keep going until walking becomes natural. The same principle applies to you. Every new skill, every new habit, every new goal you pursue will come with a period of trial and error. The mistakes are not proof that you're failing. They're proof that you're learning. Now, the key is not just making mistakes, but turning them into lessons. Because some people repeat the same mistakes again and again without learning anything from them. That's not growth. That's stubbornness. Growth requires reflection. It requires humility to admit where you went wrong, courage to face it, and wisdom to change your approach next time. For example, maybe you start a business and it fails. Instead of labeling yourself a failure, ask what went wrong. Did I not prepare enough? Did I ignore advice? Did I mismanage money? Did I move too fast? Each of those answers holds a lesson, and if you apply that lesson, your next attempt will be stronger. That's how most successful entrepreneurs build their lives. They fail forward. Or maybe in your personal life, you keep having broken friendships or relationships. It's easy to blame others. But if you're willing to look deeper, you might find patterns in your behavior. Maybe you didn't communicate well. Maybe you expected too much. Maybe you didn't listen. Those are hard truths to face, but if you embrace them, they become lessons that make you better. The real tragedy isn't failing. The real tragedy is failing and learning nothing. Because when you learn, failure is never wasted. When you grow from it, even your worst mistake becomes a step toward your dream. And here's another truth. You will never outgrow mistakes completely. No matter how experienced, how wise, or how skilled you become, life will always find new ways to challenge you. That's why learning is not something you do once. It's something you do for life. The moment you think you've arrived, the moment you think you've learned it all, that's the moment you start falling behind. So how do you make learning as you go a real practice in your life? You develop the habit of reflection. At the end of the day, ask yourself, what did I do well? What didn't go as planned? What could I do differently next time? That simple practice keeps you from repeating the same errors over and over. It trains your mind to see every experience, good or bad, as an opportunity to improve. And don't be afraid of criticism either. Sometimes the lessons you need are found in the feedback of others. It's not always easy to hear, but often the truth you avoid is the truth that sets you free. Take what helps you grow and leave the rest behind, but don't close your ears to advice just because it's uncomfortable. You see, growth requires both courage and humility. Courage to keep moving forward, knowing you'll make mistakes. Humility to admit when you're wrong and to learn from it. When you combine those two, you become unstoppable. So if you've made mistakes, and you have, because we all have, don't waste them. Don't bury them. Don't deny them. Don't let them define you. Use them. Let them sharpen your character. Let them teach you discipline. Let them give you wisdom. Because years from now, you'll realize that the mistakes you thought were breaking you were actually building you. And if today you're holding back because you're afraid of failing, remember this. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. The people you admire, the people you call successful, are not the ones who never failed. They're the ones who failed, learned, and kept going. That's the real formula. So take the risk, step forward. If you stumble, get back up. If you fall, rise again. Every mistake can become your teacher if you're willing to listen. And the more you learn, the stronger you become, until one day you realize that what once felt like failure was actually the beginning of your success story. Part 6. Celebrate every small victory. Motivation grows with acknowledgement. One of the biggest mistakes people make on their journey toward a big goal is ignoring the small victories. They convince themselves that only the final result matters, that only the end achievement is worth celebrating. And because of this, they rob themselves of energy, of confidence, and of motivation along the way. What most people don't realize is that success is not built in one giant leap. It's built through many small, steady steps, each one deserving recognition. When you celebrate a small victory, you're not pretending that you've reached the top of the mountain. You're simply acknowledging that you've moved higher than you were yesterday. That acknowledgement matters because it fuels your spirit. It reminds you that progress is real. It reminds you that even though you're not where you want to be yet, you are not where you used to be either. That difference, however small, deserves to be noticed. Think about how human beings are wired. We all crave a sense of accomplishment. We need to feel that our efforts matter. When you celebrate a small win, you send a powerful signal to your mind and body that the work is paying off. This creates momentum. It makes you want to keep going. Without this recognition, it's easy to burn out, to feel like all your hard work is leading nowhere. That's why people quit. They look at the distance left to travel instead of honoring the ground they've already covered. Imagine someone who sets out to get healthier. They want to lose a large amount of weight, or they want to run a marathon. If they only measure success by the final number on the scale or the finish line of a race, they'll feel defeated most of the way. Yeah? But if they celebrate the first pound lost, the first mile jogged, the first day they chose water over soda, the journey feels rewarding. Those small victories stack up, creating a sense of pride that builds into the confidence to keep pushing forward. Celebrating doesn't mean throwing a party every time you do something right. It can be as simple as pausing for a moment, recognizing your progress, and saying to yourself, I'm moving forward. It can mean journaling your progress, sharing it with someone supportive, or just taking a quiet moment to feel proud. These small acknowledgments build emotional resilience. They give you the fuel you need for the bigger challenges ahead. In business, this principle is just as powerful. Many entrepreneurs quit because they're waiting for the day they hit $1 million in revenue before they feel successful. But the ones who keep going are those who celebrate the first sale, the first positive review, the first returning customer. Those little signs of progress create hope and belief. They prove that the vision is possible. Without them, the road feels too long and too uncertain. The truth is, big goals take time. They require patience. If you deny yourself the satisfaction of progress until you hit the finish line, you'll live in a constant state of frustration. And frustration is what kills dreams faster than anything else. That's why it's so important to create milestones and give yourself credit along the way. Every milestone you reach is proof that your effort is working, and proof creates belief. When you recognize your progress, you also train your brain to look for growth instead of lack. Many people focus only on what they don't have, how far they still need to go, how much they're still missing. Mindset drains them. But when you focus on what you've already achieved, you shift into a state of gratitude and strength. And gratitude has a way of multiplying your results because it changes how you show up. You work harder, with more joy, with more resilience. Small victories are also powerful because they create habits. Each time you celebrate a step, you reinforce the behavior that got you there. For example, if you celebrate making it to the gym 3 times this week, you strengthen the likelihood that you'll go again next week. If you celebrate finishing your first chapter of a book you're writing, you increase your motivation to write the second. Acknowledgement ties pleasure to progress, and when progress feels good, you naturally want to continue. This is why ignoring small victories is so dangerous. When you don't acknowledge them, progress feels empty. You tell yourself it's not enough, and eventually you convince yourself that the effort isn't worth it. That's when people stop trying. But when you take a moment to celebrate, you're reminding yourself that the effort is meaningful, that you're moving in the right direction, and that you have what it takes to keep going. Think about someone saving money for a goal, maybe buying their first home. The final amount they need might seem overwhelming, but if they celebrate every $100 saved, every unnecessary expense avoided, every debt paid off, the process becomes exciting instead of exhausting. Each milestone proves they're capable, and each proof makes the big goal feel more realistic. Acknowledging small victories also builds emotional strength during setbacks, because the truth is, not every day will go smoothly. Some days you'll fall short, some days you'll feel stuck. But if you've trained yourself to celebrate progress, you can look back at all the wins you've already achieved and remind yourself that you're still capable of moving forward. That memory of progress keeps you from giving up when things get tough. It's important to understand that celebrating doesn't mean settling. Some people think that acknowledging small wins will make them complacent. But the opposite is true. Recognizing progress doesn't make you stop reaching. It makes you hungry for more. It proves that your effort is creating results, and that knowledge pushes you to keep building. Celebration is not about lowering your standards. It's about building your confidence so you can rise to even higher standards. There's also another layer to this. When you celebrate small victories, you inspire others. People around you notice your energy, your progress, your sense of accomplishment, and it motivates them. Progress is contagious. Just as negativity spreads quickly, so does the energy of growth. By acknowledging your wins, you give others permission to do the same, and together you create an environment where progress is valued, not ignored. So, if you're working towards something big, don't wait until the end to give yourself credit. But notice the progress today. Celebrate the fact that you started. Celebrate the fact that you didn't quit when it got tough. Celebrate the little improvements that others might not see, but you know are real. These acknowledgments are not small. They're essential. They keep your heart alive, they keep your mind sharp, and they keep your dream within reach. At the end of the day, success is not a single event. It's a series of small steps, small victories, and small acknowledgments that together create something extraordinary. So celebrate every step, because the more you acknowledge progress, the more progress you'll make. Part 7, from small steps to big achievements, connecting your actions to your ultimate dream. Every great achievement in life begins with a single, simple step. People often look at a dream and feel overwhelmed because it seems too far away, too massive, or too unattainable. They see the finish line and instead of feeling inspired, they feel paralyzed. But what separates those who succeed from those who only dream is understanding that the journey is made up of small, deliberate actions. Each step you take may feel minor, almost insignificant at first. But when connected to your larger goal, it becomes part of a powerful chain that propels you forward. Think about the process of building a successful business. It doesn't start with millions of dollars, a large office, or a huge team. It starts with one idea, one decision, one small action. Maybe it's writing down a plan, making a single phone call, or reaching out to one customer. That one step seems tiny in the moment, but it's the foundation for everything that follows. Each small action builds credibility, experience, and momentum. Over time, those small actions accumulate into something far greater than any single act could achieve on its own. This principle works in every area of life. If your dream is to become healthier, it doesn't happen by overhauling your life overnight. It begins with small, consistent habits, choosing a healthy meal today, going for a 10-minute walk, drinking enough water. Each of these decisions might seem trivial, but repeated daily, they form a pattern that transforms your life. The connection between small actions and big results is direct and undeniable. You're literally constructing the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be, one step at a time. The beauty of small steps is that they make progress measurable. Large goals can feel abstract, and when you measure progress only by the final achievement, you risk discouragement. But small, concrete actions give you immediate feedback. Every small win is proof that you're moving in the right direction. Every completed task, every tiny success is evidence that your dream is achievable. These moments of success feed your confidence and create the energy necessary to continue even when the ultimate goal feels distant. It's also important to understand the concept of momentum. Small steps create momentum that fuels larger achievements. A single step often leads to another and another. Before you know it, what once felt impossible starts to feel inevitable. People who reach great success don't rely on motivation alone. They rely on consistent action. Motivation is fleeting. Action is what builds results. When your actions are deliberate and consistent, they accumulate power over time. Each step compounds into greater progress, and suddenly, a big dream is no longer just an idea. It becomes a reality. Connecting small actions to your ultimate dream also requires clarity. You need a clear vision of what you want, and you need to understand how each step contributes to that vision. When the steps are aligned with your ultimate goal, they become meaningful. This is where focus and intention matter. Random actions or half-hearted efforts won't move you closer to your dream. Every small choice should serve a purpose. Even the tiniest action, when taken with intention, becomes a building block for something far larger. There's also a psychological component to this approach. When you break your big dream into small, achievable steps, your brain responds positively. Achieving small goals releases a sense of accomplishment, which in turn reinforces your desire to keep going. This positive reinforcement is critical because the path to a big dream is rarely smooth. Challenges, setbacks, and obstacles are inevitable, but when you recognize and celebrate small progress along the way, you maintain resilience. Each step becomes a proof point that you are capable, that you are moving forward, and that the dream is within reach. Another key aspect of connecting actions to your dream is patience. Big achievements are rarely instantaneous. They require sustained effort. By focusing on small steps, you give yourself the chance to develop skills, knowledge, and discipline incrementally. You also protect yourself from the frustration that comes from expecting overnight results. Progress may feel slow at times, but every step is a victory. Every day you work toward your goal, you're one day closer to turning your dream into reality. It's also worth noting that small steps allow for adaptation and learning. Every action teaches you something about yourself, your process, and your environment. You learn what works, what doesn't, and how to improve. This continuous learning is essential for long-term success. The path to a big dream is rarely straight. Small, deliberate actions allow you to adjust, refine, and optimize as you go, making the journey not only more effective, but also more rewarding. Connecting small actions to a big dream also builds confidence. When you see yourself consistently taking steps toward your goal, you start to believe in your ability to achieve it. Confidence is not something that appears out of nowhere. It grows from repeated proof of competence. Every small success reinforces your belief that you can handle the challenges ahead, and that belief fuels further action. Over time, this confidence compounds, making the big dream feel less intimidating and more attainable. Finally, the power of small steps is that they give you control. Big goals can feel overwhelming because they seem outside your reach, but small actions are entirely within your control. You may not be able to control the outcome, the timing, or the reaction of others, but you can control what you do today. By focusing on what you can do right now, you create a sense of agency and empowerment. This control reduces fear, builds courage, and reinforces the idea that your dream is achievable because it is being built one intentional action at a time. In the end, the connection between small steps and big achievements is undeniable. Each action, no matter how small, contributes to a larger vision. Every day, every decision, every effort counts. The dream you hold in your mind is not distant. It's a reality. That is being constructed through the cumulative impact of what you do consistently. By focusing on the steps you can take today, by recognizing their importance, and by connecting them to your ultimate vision, you transform your dream from a possibility into certainty. Success is never accidental. It is a result of deliberate, repeated actions. By understanding the power of small steps and connecting them to your larger goal, You create momentum, build confidence, and cultivate resilience. You transform overwhelming ambitions into manageable progress. Every small effort compounds. Every small win strengthens you. Every step brings you closer to the life you imagine. And when those steps are connected, aligned, and executed with intention, your dream is no longer just a dream. It is the reality you are creating, one action at a time. Every journey begins with a single choice, and every choice carries with it the potential to shape your future. When you dream big, you give yourself a destination, a clear vision of what you want to achieve. That vision is more than just an idea. It is a compass that guides every action you take, every decision you make, and every step you choose to follow. Big dreams have the power to inspire, to energize, and to push you beyond limits you once thought unbreakable. But dreaming alone is not enough. A dream without action remains a wish, a possibility that never materializes. What transforms a dream into reality is the combination of vision and action, the deliberate steps you take every single day to move closer to that vision. Success is created in the space between vision and action, in the moments when effort meets consistency, and in the courage to take the first small step, even when the journey feels overwhelming. Every choice matters, every effort counts, every day brings you closer to the life you have imagined. By taking these steps, by learning, growing, and moving deliberately, you are not just chasing a dream, you are becoming the person who can live it, sustain it, and expand it. The life you envision is within your reach. Every small step connects to the next, and every step brings your ultimate dream closer to reality. Your journey starts today, and your future is being built with every action you take.